The man in the tailored suit walked fast, as if the world itself might slow him down if he let it. His shoes shone like mirrors, his watch caught the sunlight, and his mind was already racing ahead to meetings, profits, and numbers that never slept. He barely noticed the beggar sitting on the cold pavement near the traffic signal, her clothes torn, her face hidden beneath dirt and tangled hair. To him, she was just another shadow in a city full of them. But in the very next moment, everything he believed about his life, his past, and himself was about to shatter forever. Before we go deeper into this emotional journey, take a moment to like this video, share it, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you believe in kindness, humanity, and second chances. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. The rich man's name was Arav Malhotra, a self-made billionaire whose story was often praised in business magazines. He was known for his discipline, his ambition, and his ruthless focus. People admired him, feared him, and envied him, but very few truly knew him. His past was something he kept locked away, buried under years of success and silence. Arav believed that looking back was a weakness. The city had taught him that survival belonged only to those who moved forward without hesitation. That morning, Arav was walking out of a luxury hotel with his 10-year-old son, Kabir. Kabir held his father's hand tightly, his small fingers wrapped around a hand that had signed million-dollar deals but rarely held on to emotions. The boy had grown up surrounded by comfort, private schools, and expensive toys, yet there was something about him that did not quite fit into that polished world. Kabir observed everything, felt deeply, and asked questions that made adults uncomfortable. As they crossed the street, the traffic slowed, and the noise of the city thickened. Cars honked impatiently, vendors shouted, and the smell of dust mixed with exhaust fumes. Near the divider sat the beggar woman, her body curled inward, as if trying to disappear. She held out a trembling hand, hoping for coins, or maybe just a glance of acknowledgement. Arav's eyes skimmed past her without stopping. He tightened his grip on Kabir's hand and kept walking, his mind already calculating time. Kabir, however, slowed down. His steps faltered, his gaze fixed on the woman. Something about her stirred a strange feeling in his chest, a heaviness he could not explain. He turned his head back, studying her face carefully despite the grime and exhaustion etched into it. The woman lifted her eyes for a brief second, and in that moment, Kabir felt a jolt, as if a forgotten memory had brushed against his soul. The boy stopped completely. Arav took 2 more steps before realizing his son was no longer beside him. Annoyance flickered across his face as he turned back, ready to scold Kabir for delaying them. But the words never came. Kabir stood frozen, staring at the beggar with wide, confused eyes, his grip loosening from his father's hand. Then, with a voice that trembled yet carried a strange certainty, Kabir said the words that would split Arav's world in two. "Dad, that's Mom." The air seemed to collapse. The sounds of the city faded into a distant hum. Arav felt his heart slam violently against his chest, as if trying to escape. He looked again at the beggar woman, this time really looking. Beneath the layers of dirt, beneath the broken posture and hollow eyes, something painfully familiar stirred. A shape of a smile, the curve of her face, the way her eyes carried both sorrow and resilience. His breath caught. No, his mind screamed. It couldn't be. The woman he once loved was gone. Dead, he had been told. Lost to time, to tragedy, to a past he had buried deep. The memories rushed back with brutal force. Arav was no longer a billionaire standing on a busy street. He was a struggling young man with dreams bigger than his wallet. He remembered the nights, spent in a cramped room, the shared cups of tea, the laughter that echoed even when there was nothing else. He remembered Mira, the woman who believed in him when the world did not, who stood by him when his pockets were empty and his future uncertain. But ambition has a way of blinding people. When Arav got his first big opportunity, it came with conditions: a new city, new connections, and a life that demanded he let go of the past. Mira had been pregnant then, scared yet hopeful, asking only for honesty and presence. Arav had chosen success. He told himself it was temporary, that he would return, that everything would be fine. But time stretched, excuses piled up, and eventually, silence replaced promises. He had received news years later that Mira had died during a difficult time, that the child was lost too. He had mourned briefly, painfully, then buried that grief under work and wealth, or so he thought. Now, standing on that street, staring at a woman who looked like a ghost pulled from his buried past, Arav felt something crack inside him. Kabir's small hand tugged at his arm, grounding him in the present. The beggar woman looked up again, confusion flickering in her eyes as she noticed the intense stare. She saw a well-dressed man and a child looking at her as if she were something more than invisible. She lowered her gaze, shame creeping in, used to being ignored or shooed away. Arav took a hesitant step closer. His chest tightened with every breath. He wanted to deny it, to walk away, to protect the carefully constructed world he lived in. But Kabir's words echoed relentlessly in his mind. That's Mom. The truth unfolded slowly, painfully. Mira had not died. She had been abandoned, left alone, pregnant, with no support, and a world that offered little mercy. Life had not been kind to her. Illness, loss, and misfortune had stripped her down piece by piece. Somewhere along the way, she lost not just her home, but her identity, her dignity, and almost her hope. Kabir's existence itself was a miracle. Through a chain of events driven by fate, Mira had given birth and, believing her child deserved a better life, had left him at an orphanage when she could no longer provide. Arav, years later, had adopted Kabir, never knowing he was adopting his own son. Fate, cruel and poetic, had kept the truth hidden until now. The weight of that realization crushed Arav. The beggar he ignored moments ago was not a stranger. She was the woman who once shared his dreams, the mother of his child, the living reminder of the cost of his ambition. As people passed by, unaware of the storm unfolding, Arav knelt down in front of Mira, his expensive suit touching the dusty ground. He did not care who saw him. For the first time in decades, his wealth meant nothing. What mattered was the life he had broken and the chance, however fragile, to make it right. Mira's eyes widened as recognition slowly dawned. The man before her was no longer the young dreamer she once knew, but something in his eyes was unmistakable. Pain, regret, and a longing that mirrored her own. The reunion was not magical or instantly healing. It was raw, heavy, and filled with unspoken questions. But Kabir stepped forward, his innocence bridging the gap that years of silence had created. He held Mira's hand without fear, without judgment, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. In that simple gesture, something sacred passed between them. Life did not change overnight. Healing never does. Arav took responsibility not just with money, but with presence. He brought Mira into medical care, into safety, into warmth. He listened to her story without defending himself, without excuses. Each word she spoke was a reminder of choices made and paths abandoned. Kabir watched his parents relearn each other, his heart full in a way it had never been before. For the first time, his world felt complete, and Arav learned lessons no business success had ever taught him. That kindness delayed can become cruelty. That love neglected can turn into suffering. That true wealth lies not in what you accumulate, but in who you refuse to abandon. Months passed, and the city continued its relentless pace. But something had changed within Arav. He no longer walked past beggars without seeing them. He no longer ignored pain because it made him uncomfortable. He began initiatives, shelters, and programs, not for publicity, but from understanding. Every face on the street reminded him of how close he had come to losing everything that truly mattered. Mira slowly regained her strength, not just physically, but emotionally. She was no longer invisible. She was a mother, a survivor, a woman reclaiming her place in the world. And while scars remained, they became symbols of resilience rather than shame. As this story comes close to its end, take a moment to reflect. If this journey touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that remind us of our humanity. Before the final moment, I have a special request for you. Please comment below and tell us what this story made you feel. Your words might inspire someone else who is silently struggling. In the end, Arav learned that ignoring a beggar had nearly cost him his soul. It took the innocence of a child to stop him, to make him look back, and to face the truth he had spent a lifetime running from. And in that pause, on a noisy street filled with strangers, a broken family found its way back to each other, proving that redemption is possible but only if we choose to see.